In this lecture, we'll learn how to create a 2D drawing using the default Fusion template. And I'll also run you through the interface for the 2D drawing environment. So to begin with, let's open up any one of our parts. So for this demonstration, I'll use this design here, which we did together from the 3D modeling section. So if we want to create a technical drawing of this part, we can come up to the environment options, which are just at the top left. And now we're currently in the design environment. Let's hit the drop down. If we bring the mouse down to drawing, we've got two options there. We're going to select from design. So we want a drawing from the design environment. Left click there once. And within this toolbox here, we have a series of options which we need to select prior to clicking OK. So the very first two are automatic and manual. Now in this case, we're going to go for manual. Fusion has recently introduced the ability to create automatic drawings. However, unless the part is really simple, I would not recommend choosing this option. I think it's a nice feature, however, it's just not practical at this stage in its development. Feel free to experiment with automatic drawing creation if you like, so that's where Fusion will generate an entire drawing for you. But for this lecture, and for me, probably about 98% of the time, so I always go with manual, as it gives us full control of the drawing. So in terms of sheet count, 1, that's realistic. We only need 1 sheet for this part, and we can also add sheets later in the drawing environment. In terms of contents, so this is just one body here. Okay, it's not an assembly. And so for this case, we can just go full assembly, or we can go select, and then just highlight the body, which we want to display in our 2D drawing. When it comes to assemblies, if you have got parts hidden and you only want to choose visible parts to be in your assembly drawing, you can choose like so, or you can individually select them like we just did. So we can go and select or full assembly. I'm going to leave that as full assembly. In terms of destination, so drawing, yep, we're going to create a new drawing. We don't have an existing one. And in terms of the template, we're going to go in this case by from scratch. But if I hit the drop down here, you'll see that I've got one option. This is a custom title block that I designed specifically for this course, and we'll be covering that in a later lecture, so that you will then have the ability to design your own custom title blocks. But for now, let's go with from scratch. Standard, okay, choose your recording standard there. I typically work in ISO standards, and again with units, I typically work in mil, but feel free to change. In terms of sheet size, I'm going to go with A3. You can adjust as you need. And then we've got the width and the height there of this sheet in terms of its orientation. So in this case, we're going to go for landscape. You can adjust like so. So let's go for landscape, and then let's press OK. And welcome to the 2D drawing environment. So very first of all, we can see as we move our mouse around, we have our part there. And in this particular orientation is the front view. And Fusion is asking us what location we want our front view to be in, and then we can project views from there and so forth. But for now, I'm actually going to click cancel on our toolbox, as I just want to run you through the interface and show you the various tools that we have available to us. So let's start in the bottom left corner. Down here we have our sheets. So we just have the one sheet available to us now, but if we do want to add more, we can just simply click the plus icon there. We can also right click on sheets as well if we want to delete them, rename them, duplicate them. And we can also export to PDF as well. And in doing so, we can either export individual sheets or all of the sheets within this drawing. On the left-hand side, we have our browser, which is quite a bit different from the browser in the design environment. So first of all, let's have a look at document settings. Here we can adjust our fonts. So we just select there, change font. We've got the text height group, so size of the text. That could be dimensions, and it could also be any notes or any text that we add to the drawing as well. Dimension units, so we can adjust between mil and inches there, line width group, and also the revision scope. Now what we can do if we come under the font Arial and click change font, actually all of those adjustments are available to us here. So for example, if we want to change the font, we can go under, let's just say Arial Black. Under the text height group, we can change that to, let's say, large. Under the dimensions, so we'll go under units, we've got our units available to us there. So if I just change these as an example, press OK, we'll then see that those changes are now reflected here. And likewise, we can do the same for the line width group as well. And moving further down, we have sheet 1 here, which we haven't renamed. We can rename that, so right click, let's rename example sheet, press enter, and you'll see the name change will be reflected up there. And then any other sheets that we add will be listed here as well. Now in terms of the settings, hit the drop down there. And we have two objects here. The first is the title block. Okay, so we can hide that visibility like so. Recommend keeping it on. And we can edit this as well. So for example, bring our toolbox across here. We can change the size and also change the orientation. And we can do that for any further sheets as well. And then down here we have our title block, which is referring to this title block down here. Now this is the default Fusion title block, which I don't like personally myself. And I will be showing you in this section how to create your own customized title block. So we'll be doing that together later. But we've also got the option to hide that as well. And we can also change that here as well if we do have other title blocks available to us. We'll take a look at that later. And along the toolbar at the top, if we start at the left-hand side, and along the top we have a series of tools available to us. If we start on the left-hand side, we have our creation tools here. So these all relate to views. Okay, so we'll run through those throughout this section. And we've also got the option as well, if we want to add any sketches. We can create sketches similar to what we do in the design environment, just with limited sketch tools available. Next, we've got the modify tool, so rotate, move, and delete. Got some geometry tools, so this is where we would identify center lines, center marks, mark patterns, edge extension, and so forth. And under here we have our dimensions. So the majority of dimensions we can do just with the general dimension tool, but it might be on occasion that we're looking for a specific type of dimension, in which case we run through the list and select the according one. Next, we've got the text tools. So here we can add in some generic text or a note or a leader note. Okay, we'll run through those in this section. And then we've got symbols here. So if we're identifying, say, surface finish, we've got our welding symbols and so forth. Got the option to insert images. Very rare to do so, but it's there if we need it. And then we've got tables here. And this is where, in this section, we'll be looking at parts lists and balloons as well. And then the last is the ability to export. So we can export as PDF, for example, very similar to right-clicking on the sheets and then exporting there. So that is the interface for the 2D technical drawing environment. And in the next few lectures, we'll start to understand more about individual sheets, and we'll also start adding base views, projecting views. We'll be working with an assembly, and we'll learn all the fundamentals behind 2D technical drawing. So I'll see you in the next lecture.